Behind the hyper-monetized commercial landscape of the upcoming World Tournament, an unprecedented geopolitical decree has fundamentally altered the competitive sanctity of international football. The institutional narrative designed to project a borderless celebration of global unity has collided directly with an unyielding diplomatic blockade. In a historic declaration delivered from the executive briefing rooms in Mexico City, the Mexican presidency officially confirmed that her nation will provide emergency territorial asylum to the Iranian national football team for the entire duration of the group stage. This administrative intervention was executed under extreme pressure after the United States government issued a strict national security directive refusing to allow the Iranian delegation to establish residency or base camps on American soil. The structural absurdity of this resolution is absolute. A fully qualified football nation is scheduled to execute all three of its primary group fixtures inside the United States, yet its athletes have been structurally exiled by the principal host nation, forced to establish an emergency sanctuary across the border while the opening matches approach. The baseline of this institutional crisis tracks back to a systematic diplomatic offensive executed months prior during the preliminary organizational phases in Washington, D.C. While FIFA engineered an elaborate draw ceremony at the Kennedy Center, the host nation's immigration apparatus targeted the Iranian Football Federation, denying entry visas to the entire administrative delegation, executives, and technical staff. This targeted exclusion forced Iran to execute a total boycott of the formal draw ceremony, leaving their competitive group to be assigned in absolute absence. The systemic degradation peaked when the entire squad was forced to travel to a third nation, queuing inside the United States Embassy in Ankara, Turkey, to undergo intensive individual security vetting. The historical image of elite international athletes waiting on foreign pavements just to obtain the basic administrative paperwork required to execute a match they had earned the sporting right to play exposed the complete collapse of the sporting exemptions that historically insulated the game from international warfare. Major reveal. This administrative gridlock escalated into a total existential threat following an acute military confrontation that resulted in catastrophic casualties and the death of Iran's supreme political leadership. In the immediate aftermath of the strikes, the Iranian Sports Ministry delivered an official broadcast to state television, declaring a unilateral withdrawal from the global tournament, stating under no circumstances could their national team participate under current hostile conditions. This executive decree was set to trigger the first mid-cycle withdrawal from a qualified nation in 76 years of sports history. However, the internal hierarchy of the squad executed an extraordinary high-risk mutiny against their own central government. Operating completely independent of ministerial control, the senior roster published a definitive collective manifesto across global social networks, stating, "No one can exclude us from the World Cup." By actively rejecting the withdrawal orders of their state apparatus, these footballers asserted an autonomous identity, forcing both their domestic ministry and a panicked FIFA executive board to facilitate their transit to the North American continent. While the diplomatic emergency achieved a fragile territorial compromise in Tijuana, sports science analytics indicate that Iran has been placed inside a terminal biological trap. The team's official base camp has been restricted to a localized facility approximately 30 kilometers south of San Diego. Consequently, Iran's matchday preparation does not mirror the highly curated, low-friction recovery cycles utilized by elite European or North American squads. Instead, on the literal morning of high-stakes international fixtures, the entire Iranian delegation must execute a physical border crossing through the highly militarized United States customs infrastructure. The squad must endure extensive travel times, idling inside transit buses for hours, and undergoing rigorous security and identity inspections by armed border agents immediately prior to entering the locker rooms in Los Angeles and Seattle. This continuous disruption completely deconstructs the biological clock of the athletes, destroying their pre-match nutritional routines, their neuromuscular activation phases, and presenting an elite opponent with a squad already physically degraded by administrative exhaustion before a single whistle blows. The isolation of Team Melli transitions from a biological deficit into an absolute psychological vacuum inside the stadiums. Due to the unyielding parameters of the national immigration bans, no travel exemptions have been engineered for Iranian passport holders or civilian fans attempting to travel from the home territory. The dedicated supporter blocks that typically inject international fixtures with tribal energy, flags, and vocal momentum will be completely hollowed out. The only localized support base available to the team will be drawn from the complex political landscape of the Iranian diaspora permanently residing within California and Washington. This community enters the arenas carrying fractured, deeply conflicting emotions regarding the symbolic nature of the modern team, stripping the squad of the unified, unconditional emotional sanctuary that elite teams rely upon when operating in a hostile away environment. The frantic administrative maneuvering executed by FIFA to preserve Iran's presence inside the tournament architecture was driven entirely by a strict commercial mandate. Behind the utopian public declarations stating that football transcends global warfare, internal financial ledgers at headquarters reveal a deep panic regarding corporate asset liquidation. Within an expanded 4-8 team tournament engineered to extract a record-breaking $13 billion in global capital, the total withdrawal or legal exclusion of a prominent Asian powerhouse would trigger immediate legal defaults with major broadcasting networks and regional corporate partners. FIFA's executive leadership personally executed emergency summits in Istanbul and flew directly to localized friendly matches in Turkey to build this imperfect Tijuana compromise. This is not the clean, symbolic sporting diplomacy promoted in multi-million-dollar marketing materials. It is a raw corporate damage control operation designed to fulfill broadcast inventory quotas at any human and logistical cost. Despite the devastating logistical weight imposed upon their delegation, Team Melli commands a defensive and tactical apparatus that cannot be analytically dismissed. Appearing in their 7th global showcase and their 4th consecutive final cycle, this squad achieved qualification through a highly disciplined, physical defensive structure. The vanguard is anchored by Mehdi Taremi, an internationally recognized striker operating at the highest levels of European club football. Supported by the extensive elite experience of Alireza Jahanbakhsh, coach Amir Galenoue has engineered a highly pragmatic, counter-attacking system that operates with immense structural density. Iran has historically seen the group stage function as their absolute competitive ceiling, never once advancing into the knockout brackets. Yet, the intense institutional adversity endured by this specific generation has forged a highly resilient locker room identity, converting their status as administrative outcasts into a dangerous, unified psychological weapon designed to punish any complacency from their group opponents. The competitive parameters of Group G present a merciless operational gauntlet executed across vast geographic distances. Iran must open its campaign against New Zealand at SoFi Stadium in Los Angeles, immediately followed by an intense structural test against a transitioning Belgium roster anchored by Kevin De Bruyne. The group phase concludes in Seattle against an Egypt squad commanded by Mohamed Salah. Because their base camp remains anchored across the border in Mexico, the team possesses zero operational safety net. A minor traffic delay on the San Diego interstate, an unexpected computer system failure at the U.S. Customs checkpoints, or an extended immigration interrogation of a single assistant coach on match day will instantly trigger a regulatory forfeit. While their group opponents rest inside luxury corporate hotels minutes from the stadiums, Iran is forced to run a literal border gauntlet every 96 hours, turning their World Cup campaign into the most dangerous logistical gamble ever verified in the history of professional sports. The unprecedented geopolitical parameters governing Group G are now officially locked into the international ledger. The emergency Tijuana base camp is occupied. The international flight paths have been certified, and the human assets are moving toward the border checkpoints. I require your clinical, economic, and tactical verdict in the comments section below immediately. 1. Does the forced exile of Iran to a Mexican base camp systematically destroy the sporting integrity of Group G? Or will this institutional adversity transform Team Melli into the most dangerous tactical wildcard of the tournament? 2. Does FIFA's emergency border compromise expose the complete moral bankruptcy of their sport outside politics doctrine, proving they will sacrifice athlete welfare to protect a $13 billion corporate mandate? 3. Can the technical genius of Mehdi Taremi and a locked-in counter-attacking blueprint successfully override the physical and biological exhaustion of matchday border crossings to secure a historic knockout qualification? Deconstruct these raw, institutional, and geopolitical realities in the comments section below. Activate the like mechanism if this investigation fouille the corporate architecture governing international football, and subscribe immediately. We will track the visa updates, the border delay metrics, and the systemic fallout from the opening kickoff to the final balance sheet. The ledger is open, the borders are real, and the clock is ticking. Thank you for analyzing with us, and I will see you in the next investigation.